Hi everyone, today we're going to go over how to create the InDesign graphic that we'll refer to as the 9 boxes, and that's what you see here on the screen. So this is the example for today and what we will be creating. The first thing that's really important to do when working in InDesign or really any Adobe product is make sure you always have your images already saved in a specific location. So in order to do that, you're going to go create your own folder within your File Explorer. And you can get there by going down to this toolbar, or you can even go to Start and then choose the File Explorer wherever you can find it in your menu. So for that, I just created within the Pictures tab a folder. You might want to do it within your class folder, and I just named it Aesthetics since this assignment is about our personal interior design aesthetic. From there, I'm going to go ahead and find my images. So there's many different ways you can look for your aesthetic images. One way I like to do this is just type in interior design aesthetic. If you have something specific, like if you like a more modern room, something a little bit more traditional, Art Deco or eclectic, you can search for that. Or sometimes I'll even go into Pinterest and search as well. They sometimes have good photos there. So let's say I like this image here, a little bit more industrial looking. I'm going to save that image as, right click Save Image As, and then make sure I'm in the specific folder, and then just go ahead and save it. And we're going to do that until you have your 9 different interior design aesthetic photos. Now we're going to go to InDesign. So if it's not open already, go ahead and go to your Start menu and choose Adobe InDesign. From there, we're going to start a new document. So since mine's already open, and the program sometimes takes a while to open if it's the first time you've opened it ever or in a long time, but once it is, you're going to go to File, New, and Create Document. From here, we want to make sure we adjust a few things. So the units should be in inches. And you should see the width change to 8.5 and the height to 11. And this just makes the program easier to use and more functional for us. And we're going to click Create. Your screen should look like this. If for whatever reason it looks like this, you're in what we call tablet mode, which is not as user-friendly. So you want to make sure you get out of this mode as soon as possible. So to do that, you can go up here. It's kind of hidden for me, but you can see a little keyboard with the mouse over it, and you're going to say Exit Touch Workspace. And it'll bring you back to this more user-friendly desktop version of InDesign. So now we're ready to start adding in our frames for our images. So essentially, we're working on this portion right here with all of our images, this grid. First thing we want to note is that this pink purple line here, this is our margin for the page. We always want to stay within the margin or line things up right next to it. That way, if we ever go to print or publish, anything like that, everything will look uniform. So we're going to start adding in our frames. Over here on the left, this is our rectangle frame tool. If you have any other shape with an X through it, you can right click and choose rectangle frame tool so you're on the same tool as me. Now we're going to start in the top left, right on the margin. And we're going to drag all the way down. Well, not all the way, about 3/4 of the way down. And if I let go, it's going to create one large frame. This is not what we want, because remember, if we refer back to our example, there are 9 different evenly spaced boxes. So to undo, you're going to do Control Z, as in zebra. And we're going to go from the top left again, about 3/4 of the way down. And instead of letting go this time, while we're still holding onto our mouse, we're going to use our right arrow key twice and our up arrow key twice. And now you can see that grid. And you can continue to stretch it out or make it smaller, but for the most part, it should look like 9 evenly spaced boxes. So now I'm going to let go, and we have our frames in place. Now we're ready to add in our images. So we're going to pull up the File Explorer, and I like just to kind of move mine to the side a little bit so I can still see the InDesign page. Go to the folder where your images are, And there's many different ways to do this, how you put your images in here. You could just click one by one, drag it over, and drop it in the frame. For me, I think it's easier if I select all the images I'm using at once and then just drop them in one by one. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on a photo, and now I'm going to hold down the Control key on my keyboard and select all the other images I want to use for this assignment. All right, now that I have all those selected, I'm going to click on one. You can let go of the Control key, and now I'm going to put them over here. So when I go into my InDesign document, I can see a preview of what image I'm about to place, and then I'm just going to click in the frame where I think it would fit best. Okay, so now I have all my images placed. Sometimes you guys might have images that maybe when they go into the frame, they look like this, or maybe they're even really zoomed in, and so you can't see the whole image. There is an easy way to fix this, and you do that by clicking on the frame, not the image, okay, the frame, right click, fitting, fill frame proportionally, and you can see it fits it properly. Same thing for this one. Click on the frame, right click, fitting, fill frame proportionally. So the other problem sometimes you might have is maybe you need to see more of a light fixture, or some of the images cut off on the right side. So how we fix this is you can double click on a frame. So I'm going to double click on this one because I want more of this furniture area to show in the living room rather than the ceiling and the wall. So I'm going to double click, and you can see it's a very faint orange frame, you guys, but that is the image itself. So now I'm moving the image around. So if I use my arrow keys, I can use the up arrow and bring up that image so you can see more of the space and the rug. Same thing for, let's say this one. I wanted to move it a little bit more to the right or to the left. You can see more of that image there as well. So remember, if you double click the orange frame, that is the picture itself. And you can kind of just adjust from there, whatever you think is best. Okay, something I think I forgot to mention, but this tool right here that I'm using right now, that's called the selection tool. Think of it as like a pair of hands, basically, and if you grab anything with this tool, it's going to move it around for you. So I can move that there if I wanted to. If you're on any other tool and need to move something around, it's going to create more of whatever that tool is. So if I was on the frame tool and tried to move something, it's just going to create more frames or text boxes and shapes and so on. All right, now we're ready to put in our text, which for this assignment is just a title of personal aesthetic. So we're going to go to our type tool, which is over here again on the left, and we're going to draw our text box. I like to draw mine margin to margin, that way it's easier to align things on the page. So I'm going to go from the left all the way down here over to the right. And again, our title is personal aesthetic. And it's important to note that there is not automatic spell check within this program. There's a way to access it, but usually the easiest thing and what a lot of people will do within this course is type up their descriptions and titles in Word and then just copy and paste them over into InDesign. That way you know the grammar and the spelling is all correct. So now we're ready to change the font size and also the font. So in order to do that, you're going to highlight everything first, all your text. And usually up here at the top, once you go to the type tool, you will see this menu pop up. If it doesn't, you can go up to Window, Type in Tables, and choose Character. And you should see another little window pop up. So this menu is essentially all the things you're also seeing up here. So I'm going to change my font. I like this font right here. And you'll want to make sure you like what you use because you'll kind of use it throughout the rest of your assignments within this course. And now I'm ready to also change the size of the font. So for me, there's two different places to do that. I could do that up here where you see the T with a smaller T, or I can do it here as well. So I'm going to just make that pretty big since it's the only text on the page. And then the last thing we're going to do is center the text. So up here I already have the alignment options available. If they're not visible to you, again, go up to Window, type in Tables, and then you're going to choose Paragraph. So now here I can align this center. All right, now I'm going to go back to my selection tool and click off of that text box. Now if I press W on my keyboard, I can see what this will look like as if we were ready to print or publish this. One thing, if I zoom out a little bit, you can see a little better. One thing I noticed, and that really bothers me and is not very good composition for the page, is that there's so much blank space down here compared to in between the text and the images. So we want to move this down a little bit. So I'm going to click on this and just use my arrow keys and move it down until I click off of this and it looks pretty evenly spaced in between the images and the bottom of the page. So now I'm pretty much set with this. I can press W again if I need to go back and work with any of the frames, but you get the idea that W lets you see what this looks like as a finalized version. Now we're ready to export this as a PDF, which is what you will always submit for your assignments. You will never submit an actual InDesign file. So for an InDesign file, like let's say I wanted to keep working on this later today, but I don't have time right now, I would just do File, Save As. So think of it almost as like a Word document. If I wasn't done typing something, I would save it as, and then come back and I would be able to access that later. So that's not exactly what we're doing right now, but that feature is there if you ever need to come back and work on something. But we're going to create a PDF. So we're going to go to File, Export, and we're going to choose, make sure you choose PDF. I choose the interactive version. For some reason, it seems to have less issues. And then you want to name this whatever your teacher has told you you need to name it for this assignment. So I'm going to do aesthetic, and I'm going to do 2 since this is the second example. And then I will hit Save. And again, this screen will pop back up and you'll say Export. And then it generates this view for me. So this document here, the PDF, this is what I would submit into the gradebook assignment for this assignment. So with that being said, that's pretty much the end of this tutorial. But what's really great about seeing this PDF view is that you can make some final adjustments, and then you can always re-export this if you need to submit a different version of the page. I hope this information is helpful and useful and good for building a great foundation with working with InDesign.